Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from another new place that is actually an article my mom sent me. So thanks, Mom, if you're listening. So this is from the Dossier. It's dated May 2nd of 2024 and says how the war in Gaza became the current thing on campus. American universities are the perfect breeding ground for these uprisings, having long embraced revolutionary ideologies that seek to delegitimize and destroy the foundations of our civilization. So as I'm recording this is a few days after most of the college encampments have been broken up. So, you know, and people are starting to fight back in a sense, not what's going on at UCLA, but like in Chicago, you have the people showing up with American flags or everything. So you're starting to see people turn around about this, and that's good. And they're not afraid to confront these idiots anymore. So let's go ahead and get into this because I find this pretty interesting. So over the past few weeks, American colleges have witnessed a surge in pro-Palestine disturbances, with students, faculty, and outsiders spawning encampments, occupying buildings, vandalizing property, and committing violence against ideological enemies across the country, seemingly out of nowhere. Black and white checkered keffiyeh, the headdress popularized by former PLO chief Yasser Arafat, has become the ultimate chic clothing item of choice on campus. In the name of Palestine, students, faculty, and professional outside organizers have taken to occupy property and even committing assault and battery against enemies of their movement. And high-profile schools like Columbia, UCLA, Ohio State, University of North Carolina, Northwestern, and elsewhere, supporters of this cause are making incredible demands in the name of justice for Palestine. By the way, Palestine is not an actual thing. And this picture here is it's a George Washington statue at George Washington University that has been vandalized. And that is shameless if I've ever seen any shameless sort of thing. So how exactly did the war in Gaza, a conflict fought between two parties, Israel and Hamas, become the new current thing, capital letters, on campus? Perhaps the easiest way to explain this is by first identifying the command and control structure of the protest movements at the individual school level. Earlier this week, man, I am just not talking properly. Earlier this week, the leaders of the Palestine encampment at Columbia University delivered a press conference to publicize their demands. It's funny that they get to come out and be like, we need this. And it's like, you guys did this. Like, what makes you think? Like, nobody should give in to your demands. Say, F you, go back to class. Students associated with the movement had just broken into and occupied the university's Hamilton Hall, and their leaders appeared before the media to list their supposed grievances. And yeah, I like how it says, the caption says, a mostly peaceful student breaks into a building at Columbia University. There were a lot of left-wing media, too, is saying, like, oh, they're allowed to do this. Remember when this happened in, like, the 70s? Stuff, and it was like, yeah, but they weren't destroying all the property in there and doing stuff like what this idiot is doing. So appearing in front of the media were three students and the apparent leaders of the movement who've identified who I've identified as Johanna King-Slutsky, who is the woman in the blue jacket right there, Cameron Jones, who's the dude in the midriff standing right behind her, and Mariam Alwan, who must be that other lady down here next to the two of them. Says King-Slutsky is a PhD student and a lecturer at Columbia, so that's just not good. Says, an avowed Marxist, she has spent many years in the digital communication space supporting leftist political movements. She describes herself as ancestrally Jewish in order to distinguish herself from white people on the woke hierarchy. So she's one of the bad Jews, as I would say. She also describes herself as poor, despite having two doctors as parents, one of whom operates a successful private practice in Manhattan. Yeah, so she's probably loaded, as a matter of fact. Says King-Slutsky, who is in her mid-30s and without any semblance of a legitimate career path, is the epitome of a limousine Marxist. She's in her mid-30s? Okay. I mean, she doesn't look it, so okay, but Jesus Christ, like, do something with your life. My God. Says Jones, the guy wearing the belly shirt, is part of the Queers for Palestine movement, so chickens for KFC is what I'd prefer to call them, and is the lead organizer of the Columbia Bernard branch of Jewish Voice for Peace, or JVP. And I was just about to say what I just noticed this next sentence because I was about to make a comment like this. It is Jewish in the sense that its membership roster includes some ancestral Jews like King-Slutsky, but in reality, JVP is a fringe leftist group that is funded by George Soros' charities and the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. Essentially, JVP exists to put a Jewish flavor on the destruction of Israel and Western civilization as a whole. Yeah, that's more detail than I was going to give, but I was going to say these are basically like not non-Jewish Jews in a sense. Alwan is a leader with Students for Justice in Palestine, which is like it says a Hamas adjacent student group. Okay, again, this guy is beating me to all my thoughts. That has organized and facilitated the nationwide disruptions on college campuses. Yeah, they're like an actual kind of like it says here, an adjacent terrorist group. Like they should be investigated. So the true radical, Al-One, has expressed support for jihadist terrorism and has demanded the destruction of Israel and annihilation of its people. Although she supports Islamism, she frames her struggle within the Marxist dichotomy of the oppressed, Palestinian and Muslim, versus the oppressor, Jew, Israel, USA, Western culture, in which the former can do no wrong and the latter can do no right. So it's a messed up way of seeing things. Okay, and that's kind of, I think, the core of it is what he says here in the article, is the oppressed versus the oppressor, and you're almost never going to come out on the right side of things when that happens. Okay. Because the people that are oppressing the Palestinians are, wait for it, Hamas, who are, wait for it, the Palestinians. It's not Israel. And these young activists are not alone in their efforts. They are being guided and maneuvered by professionals. The students are being assisted by deep-pocketed outfits and longtime movement organizers like Lisa Fithian of Occupy Wall Street fame and former left-wing terrorist Bill Ayers. Yeah, go look up. This is the first I'd ever actually heard of this Lisa Fithian woman, but I listening to Tim Pool, and he was like, oh yeah, we knew her from, like it says here, the Occupy Wall Street stuff. Like, she's just a professional protester, which sounds just like an awful thing to be. And look up Bill Ayers. He's a member of the Weather Underground, which is a domestic terrorist group in the 70s that is responsible for death and destruction across the country. They bombed a lot of places and killed a lot of people. Okay, and now he gets to talk at Northwestern. So, and the dude, oh, by the way, a good friend of his is some guy named Barack Obama. Maybe you've heard of him. So domestically, we are witnessing the reincarnation and emboldening of the Red-Green Alliance. And similar to the Black Lives Matter Antifa rallies and riots, the communists and black nationalists who spearheaded the Summer of Love violence found many useful progressive idiots along the way. Of course they did. It says, it's safe to say that most who posted a black square on Instagram didn't actually want to burn down Ferguson, Missouri. The same applies to supporters like the Kafia Karens, who is in this picture below here, who have been indoctrinated through the culture and the school system to seek ways to showcase their progressive empathy. This time, it comes through submitting to the most nefarious ideologies on Earth. And I like this caption. Like, oh my goodness, jihadist uprisings are so fetch. Yeah, they might as well be saying that. Because foreign actors and even nation states are also influencing the conversation both on the campus and international level. There is a significant amount of foreign-born radicals involved in the uprisings on campus. At Columbia, the foreign student population amounts to 30% of the overall student body. At Northwestern, it's about 1/4 of the population. Speaking of Northwestern, the school is funded in part by $600 million in donations from the Hamas-supporting government of Qatar. The tiny Gulf nation is the largest foreign donor to American universities, having shelled out billions in recent years to expand its geopolitical influence into the university system. That couldn't possibly be a problem, could it? No. Says there's also evidence of China-funded organizations in the United States attempting to leverage these movements to sow chaos and discord in a strategic fashion before the 2024 election. So see the Free Beacons report from this week for more intel on that. There's a link to the article, so go ahead and check it out. But again, it's another thing where I go, that couldn't possibly be a problem, could it? And finally, last paragraph, it says, suddenly, the cause for Palestine and hatred for Israel has become the biggest current thing on campus since COVID-19. American universities are the perfect breeding ground for these activists, with so many institutions having long embraced revolutionary ideologies that seek to disrupt and destroy the foundations of our civilization. That's excellent. This article seems to have just taken all of my thoughts about these things and kind of put it into one thing. So excellent work, I'd say here. Thanks, Mom, for sending me this article. But I definitely think you should read this whole thing and check on a bunch of the links in green here as well. Where are they? Now, of course, I say that and they're gone, like all this stuff over here. Yeah, definitely check all that stuff out and see how this movement isn't like a legit thing. It's like there's other people influencing this. That's why it's spreading. And now it's just, oh, yeah, this is what we're going to go ahead and protest now is this. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.